Thanks, Jack. I'm Representative Debbie Phillips. I'm ranking on the Primary and Secondary Education Subcommittee. And I want to reiterate what my colleagues said about the efforts that we have made to work in a bipartisan way. And I want to acknowledge that I think that with respect to the school funding formula, this bill makes progress over the bill as it was introduced by the governor with respect to the formula itself and the way that funds are distributed to target towards districts that really need the most help. But we have a lot more work to do in a couple key areas, most notably the issue dealing with reimbursement of lost tangible personal property tax revenue and with the issue of transportation funding. The bill, as it currently stands, creates a study committee to look at transportation costs and how we can fairly fund that, and a study committee is simply not adequate. When we have some districts in the state of Ohio, when they add together the miles traveled by their fleet of school buses, one of my school districts tells me it's like driving a bus to Denver, Colorado and back every day. So we don't need a study committee, we need actual dollars to invest in upgrading the bus fleet so they're more fuel efficient and making sure that that isn't stripping dollars out of the classroom that we need for our kids. In another area that we really need to look at, it's the issue of the charter school accountability provisions. Those mainly have been removed from this budget. This budget continues to drive more money to every charter school. And when we know that there are charter schools who are collecting money for kids who aren't even there, we've seen the reports on the problems with attendance at charter schools, not being able to even document that some of these students exist and some students having more than one ID number. We need to have a very clear idea of what's going on in these schools. We need to have real oversight and accountability of how tax dollars are being spent before we commit to driving even more of our scarce resources into these schools. The changes that were made in the sub-bill actually provide funding on a per pupil basis, $25 per student, for students who attend online charter schools. For facilities, these are schools that don't have buildings, and this budget commits to providing money to them for facilities when we're not even sure that the students that they claim are attending are in fact logging in and spending time working on their education. So we need to make sure that we've got clear oversight. We need to address the sponsor hopping provision. I know there is separate legislation moving, but in a budget bill that drives additional resources to these schools, we need the accountability provisions in place rather than just a continued discussion moving forward. Those reforms need to go hand in hand with any dollars that are targeted toward those schools. The other provisions that we need to deal with, this actually contains one of the anti-labor provisions that was added to the budget, deals with charter school teachers who might choose to join a union, becoming ineligible to be an STRS or SERS. The legislature has worked very hard to protect the fiscal solvency of our state's retirement systems. One of the things that makes those systems work is the fact that everybody is in the retirement systems. So to put that kind of pressure on could not only harm the teachers who may teach for a time in charter schools and for a time in public schools, but could destabilize the pension systems moving forward. So we have a lot more work to do. It's our responsibility to make sure that all of our kids going to school in Ohio have a fair shot at good opportunities in this world-class economy. Thanks.